Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. We have some breaking news. We'll just give you the breaking news right away. Kai Forbath was cut by the Patriots.
What?
Unbelievable. I just got that message to my
You
phone.
understand what you just did to me? There goes my season.
Entire fantasy week. Kai Forbath.
I just bid $100 on him.
Who need Nick Folk? And needs another week for his appendicitis to recover, and then you're just gonna have Kai Forbath. Oh my God.
I'm crying right now.
I ruined your whole week. It is Tuesday, December 3rd. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me. Week 13 is complete in the books, and we will talk about what happened in Week 13. We'll talk about waiver wire stuff for Week 14. We'll talk about what happened in Week 13 and talk about waiver wire stuff in Week 14. But you know what this week signifies? For a majority of the fantasy football world,
Yeah.
round one of the fantasy football playoffs. Now, some leagues do play 14 weeks and only have 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is you,
Did we used to do that?
yeah, we used to do that.
I think so, yeah.
If you are one of those people, which it's a very rare breed, then you have one more week to prepare for the playoffs. But if you're not that league, like a majority of us, this is your first playoff week. Win or go home. If you lose, you're out. You're done. You're playing for the consolation bracket. Ugh. Consolation bracket.
Dude.
We encourage people to play the entire season, to play some
Yeah.
spoiler, win those consolation brackets, but come on, you know why we're here. Fantasy championships.
Should there be a minor prize for consolation bracket to get people to try?
No. Well, probably.
Like a pizza?
You said to get people to try, so that's probably a pizza. I don't, what do you even give them?
What is a good consolation prize?
It's not nothing.
It's like something that nobody actually wants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that would be a good consolation.
Just go to the store and get something that nobody wants.
Like it's something semi-valuable, but nobody actually asked for it or wanted it.
You're like, ooh. Your grandma gets you one of the. Oh, I know. A Christmas sweater with Santa's face on it.
Oh, it's like insult to injury
for Christmas.
Yeah, that could be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Said that is not valuable at all. So I guess I went entirely against your point. Before we get into some news around the league, be first.
Yeah,
I meant to say, be sure to do the following. Check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the FFChamps on Twitter, at the Fantasy Champions on Instagram. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. Subscribe wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you listen. Click the bell on YouTube for notifications, leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. Let's get started with the news. Falcons coach Dan Quinn confirmed there is no plans to shut down Julio Jones and Matt Ryan.
That's good for fantasy owners.
I guess.
If you're a Falcons fan,
for Julio Jones, yes. For Matt Ryan,
if I were the Falcons,
have
I probably
you angry cut Matt Ryan?
Did he have a good week this week?
I don't know.
No, he had like.
I was gonna say, did you rage drop Matt Ryan yet?
Yeah, I probably would have if he was on my team. I think he had. It was a Thanksgiving.
We talked about this though in the offseason.
Yeah,
this is Matt Ryan's down year.
Yeah, he had 18 in our league.
Yeah,
so that's probably like 16.
15, 16. Falcons coach Dan Quinn also said that Julio Jones' availability for Week 14 is trending upward. So I'm guessing that this injury with Julio Jones is a lot more significant than was previously let on. I know a lot of the fantasy football community was very much in on the fact that Julio Jones is going to play on Thursday Night Football.
Well, he's like every single week
this season, an injury problem
in his past. He's always on the injury report for like an ankle or something.
Yeah,
and he's always like questionable for the game, and he always ends up playing. So that's why I think most people thought he would play. But
yeah, I mean, if you have Julio Jones for your fantasy playoffs, you better hope that he plays.
I know.
He'd get robbed. An MRI confirmed that Amari Cooper did not suffer any structural damage just to his left knee. So on Thursday Night Football, he went down with some form of a knee injury. He is okay. I believe he returned to that game and played a few more snaps. Jason Garrett said Amari Cooper is expected to suit up in Week 14. So there is that. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Phillip Rivers is in danger of being benched. Now, this was reported before Sunday's game.
Yeah.
In which he threw for 250-plus yards and 2 touchdowns with 1 interception. So is that enough to save the job of Phillip Rivers?
I don't think it... I mean, it probably is, but...
They desperately need
It's very interesting to me that they did not do anything with the quarterback position this offseason. Like, they were one of the teams that were interested in Josh Rosen. I thought for sure they'd at least draft a quarterback. Because Phillip Rivers has been on the downswing the last 2 or 3 years, it feels like.
Yeah.
And then especially this year. And he's what is he, 38? 37?
36, 37.
Oh, is he? Hold on, I'll look it up.
He might be
But
38.
it feels like he's 58.
Because he came in the league late.
Yeah.
But he's also the same age as Big Ben, so.
He's 37.
Yeah.
And he turns 38 this week.
Do you know, so a lot of people are like, wow, the Chargers really suck this year, which they have. But do you want to, so I heard a statistic. What's that face?
There is a report today.
Oh, no.
That said, Chargers shocked at Phillip Rivers' inaccuracy. Could be benched this week.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah.
All right, so there goes that. He was pretty, I don't know if you watched any of that game. He was not. He put up an okay stat line.
I watched a quarter of it, but I did watch some of it, and when I watched the game, he blew.
Yeah, they. What are they going to bench him for? I mean, for
that's the problem. They don't. That's why I said it shocks me that they.
Tyrod Taylor.
Okay, he could be a good backup.
Yeah,
but
anyway,
they don't have anyone for the future.
So they said that the Chargers, because I don't know, I think they're 4-7. Is that right?
I think they're worse.
7, 8, 9, 10, 13.
I think they're 4-8.
Is it 4-8? No, we played more than that.
4-8. Yeah, they're 4-8.
So
wow.
Last year, and don't quote me on this because the numbers could be wrong, but I'm just going to throw them out there for the sake of shock factor.
Okay.
So last year they had, I think it was 8 games where they won by 5 or less points or something like that, and in those games they were 7-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year, I believe they've had 6 games that they've had. Games that were extremely close within 4 points.
Lost, yeah.
And they've lost almost all of them.
I did see that.
So the difference between Chargers last year and the Chargers this year is literally just them not winning the close games.
Yeah.
Is kind of
it's really not
if they won all of the games that they were supposed to win in the close game. I mean, they got every single game was ripped away from them at the end. And
they'd be 8-4 instead of 4-8.
Yeah, they would be 8-4 instead of 4-8, and people would be like, "Oh, Chargers one of the better teams in the AFC," and it would be completely different. They wouldn't be talking about benching Rivers.
I feel like their schedule was harder last year, though.
Yeah,
and they still came they beat
also
some
didn't. They weren't able to. They weren't able to do what they needed to do because Melvin missed half the season. Anyway,
yeah.
For fantasy purposes, you should have benched Phillip Rivers or dropped Phillip Rivers weeks ago.
If he's still on your team,
get him off your team.
Yeah.
Somebody on our team still has him. What are you holding on to hope for?
He's a backup, bro.
Yeah. Jason Lockenfor of CBS Sports reports that the Titans will consider using the franchise tag on Ryan Tannehill. That's probably in your best interest, Tennessee.
I think Tennessee might have found their franchise quarterback.
Maybe. We'll see what happens in the future. He didn't have a great week this week. I would think it was 180 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but they won.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't have to go off. It's Derrick Henry.
Lockenfor also reports that there is no timetable for a decision on potential discipline for free agent wide receiver Antonio Brown. They are probably not going to decide on punishment until he signs. Right now,
so why is the team going to want to sign him?
This is what's going to happen. This is a standoff between the league and the New England Patriots. Whoever makes the first move, it's going to.
I don't think the Pats are going to sign. I'd be shocked if the Patriots sign him.
They're getting desperate, bro.
As the Patriots
you sign
fan
him now, and he'll be back right in time for the playoffs.
Them to succeed, I would love it if they did sign him.
Also, I'd pick him up off the waiver wire.
I would too.
I would be bolting it.
But I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, me neither. Nick Foles was benched at halftime of Jaguars Week 13.
Can we talk about this for one second?
We will talk about this We will talk about this in the quick reaction segment. So we'll go through it real fast. Save your thoughts.
Yeah.
Jaguars head coach Doug Marrone also said that they are going to start Gardner Minshew in Week 14 against the Chargers. He said that he fits the scheme. He fits whatever. I can't remember what he said, but he said he fits it better to get them wins.
And what he meant to say by that is
Nick Foles blows.
Nick Foles absolutely sucks, so we're going to start Minshew.
Chiefs coach Andy Reid says there's a good chance Darrell Williams doesn't play in Week 14 against the Patriots. He, I don't know if you saw the play, but he was cutting upfield and his knee buckled.
Ooh.
They said that it was a hamstring, but that did not look like a hamstring
Typically,
injury.
your kneecap's not.
Yeah. Anyway, Browns coach Freddie Kitchens said Baker Mayfield should be fine. He injured his hand throwing. I think it hit off a helmet. We saw that happen with Drew Brees earlier in the season.
He was out for
6 weeks. So, good news for Baker Mayfield. Bad news is the Browns are done.
Yeah. They have a statistical chance.
Their
last three, I think they played the I'll pull it up, but it's a very easy
Bengals,
schedule.
Jets, and I think they have to play Baltimore. That's going to be the game.
Yeah, they'll probably lose that. And if
that'll be
the hope is Baltimore rests all their starters and they have a chance. They did beat Baltimore earlier this season though. So yeah, they play the Bengals twice.
Baltimore is really hot right now, and that's why they're winning games.
They play the Bengals twice and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance they'll win all three of those.
You know the
Baltimore, and that'll make them an
You know the Ravens dance? If they score touchdowns.
Oh yeah.
So Deebo Samuel caught a touchdown to open the game on Sunday. That was a great game. He did the celebration. I was like, where have I seen that? And then later in the game, Lamar scored and he did it. And I'm like, oh, he was mocking the Ravens.
What a clown!
He was mocking the. It was a great catch for Deebo, though. I'll tell you that much.
But don't mock the team you're playing in their building when they're 9-2.
For the first time this year, watching Baltimore, because I don't like the Baltimore Ravens as a team, but I like Lamar Jackson. I was really annoyed with the Ravens for some reason. Their defense is very annoying for some strange reason.
Their defense?
Yeah, they're just a bunch of clowns.
Oh, they are kind of clownish.
Like their offense is.
You can say that about most good teams in the league. Now.
I went back to my days of not for fantasy football purposes. I love running quarterbacks, but I just watching football games. Like Lamar Jackson had 107 passing yards and 125 rushing yards. All he did was run in that game.
Yeah, people said Lamar had a like I was on Twitter and people were saying how Lamar slayed the 49ers and stuff, and I was like, he did not actually. That was Lamar's been fantastic this year, don't get me wrong, and even that game he did decent.
Yeah.
But that was not Lamar was kind of shut down for a lot of that game.
Yeah.
Not fully shut down because he was able to run, but passing the ball wise. And they only scored 20 points. San Fran did a good job defensively.
It was literally I don't even know what the freaking play call is, but I think it's an RPO where he fakes it off to the running back and then runs it.
Yeah.
He was doing that like every other play. And it was like, dude, what the freak? I'm like, can you do something?
If it works, it works though, you know?
Problem is, it ain't going to work for that long.
Well,
I was watching that game, and as good as San Francisco's defensive line is, I was getting so frustrated because I was like, he's literally doing the same thing every time.
I know, but dude,
he's so fast, but it's like, when are you going to learn? Okay, he can't throw the football on us. They locked down Marquise Brown on the outside, and their linebackers were shutting down Mark Andrews, so it was like he couldn't move the ball.
Like most ways to defend
besides
a read option is to have one guy, like you kind of play a man. You'll have one guy focus on the running back, one like the outside linebacker focus on the quarterback.
You need two guys on Lamar.
You can't do that yet against Lamar because he will destroy the outside linebacker.
They'll figure it out. It'll be something they figure like. And it'll probably
It'll
probably be Bill Belichick in the playoffs when they rip all of our souls out.
The only way you can defend that, I think, is to just focus on Lamar and just hope you shut down Mark Ingram.
You need a fast linebacker.
Yeah, but even a fast linebacker is going to get burned by Lamar.
I was just getting frustrated because I'm like, fantasy-wise, that's awesome. But, like, in real life, it's just you can only take so much of the – but this is what makes the Ravens so good is they literally – if you watch the whole game, they literally just bruised the 49ers.
Yeah.
Just battered them on the ground until they couldn't do it anymore and kicked a field goal and won the game. So it should be interesting, but I just wanted to note that Lamar was driving me crazy with just running. Everyone loves it right now, but like that could get old so fast. I like to watch wide receivers make one-handed catches once in a while. You know what I mean? Actually show their talent or skill. Anyway, TJ Hawkinson was placed on injured reserve. Poor TJ. The Hawk is injured. He's out for the season.
I'll be waiting for you next year, buddy.
Yeah, breakout season. Matt Stafford is still week to week, according to Matt Patricia, and Kyle Shanahan said he's optimistic that Matt Breida makes his return in week 14. Not that matters, because you probably aren't going to play him. Let's get into some quick reactions for the week. I know you have a bone to pick on Nick Foles. There were many people in the fantasy football community that recommended the streaming option of Nick Foles, including you. I know
I was on that
Mike
bandwagon.
Wright from the Fantasy Footballers retweeted, or not retweeted, he tweeted out a GIF. I don't even know what the GIF was, but he said, "I'm sorry for telling you guys to start Foles." So yeah, it's not something that was expected. The line of thinking that you had on the Nick Foles thing, because I was a little bit hesitant when you put Nick Foles in the show notes. I was very hesitant to go after Nick Foles as a guy that I wanted, but it's very reasonable to think that he would have a good game considering the matchup. But he was just. I watched this game on Red Zone, and he is god awful.
So I feel like it was logical, right? Yeah. Tampa Bay going into the game ranked 31st against quarterbacks.
Yeah, only team worse than them is Arizona.
They're after allowing -2 points to Nick Foles, they're at 28, which means they're still below. That's how bad they were. Nick Foles looked like absolute hot garbage.
Yep.
Like a total trash can. Did not look like he deserved to be in the NFL. I hate to be that blunt about it. I'm a little salty because I did start him in our league and he got -2 points.
Yeah, that blows. And you were facing me.
Yeah, but I mean,
take the fat out.
Yeah, Nick Foles. Can't believe I ever trusted him. But again,
we faced each other somehow twice in 2 different leagues.
He threw the ball 50 times the last 2 weeks.
Right.
So a guy who throws the ball 50 times going up against the worst passing defense in the league at home, who many consider is not a bad quarterback. Nick Foles, by many people going into this week, is considered not a good quarterback or a great quarterback or anything like that. But he is a solid NFL quarterback. And if he's throwing the ball 50 times against a great matchup at home, he should get like 20-plus points, right?
Right.
Or I wasn't even expecting like 30, but like 20 to 25.
I wasn't a believer in Nick Foles, but Lord knows I didn't think Nick Foles was going to have -2.
3 drives, first 3 drives, 3 turnovers. And even when he wasn't turning the ball over, he just didn't look good. And he looked nervous in the pocket.
Yeah. I think that's due. The unfortunate part, Nick Foles is the perfect career-long backup. And it's unfortunate because you want the guy to succeed, but he just, whenever you give him the cash...
Can you believe he beat the Patriots?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. When you give him and Tom Brady freaking...
Wasn't his fault. He threw 500 yards.
500 yards and like 4 in a Super Bowl at the age of, 39? It's unbelievable. Like anyway, Nick Foles... they give him the money. This has happened twice to him. People don't remember the first time. He played, what was it, for Minnesota? Or I can't remember. It wasn't Philadelphia. He played for another team. He took over for a starter.
It was It wasn't Minnesota.
Was it the Rams?
I think it was the Rams, actually. I'll look it up.
And then he went to play for...
The Rams sounds right.
He might have went to go play for the Rams. I don't know. My God, he seems like this has been a journey for him.
It has been.
But he was...
Yeah, he's played for the Rams and the Chiefs. I don't remember when he was on the Chiefs, but I guess he was on the Chiefs for a year.
So the Rams gave him the bag.
In 2015.
And he blew chunks.
Yeah.
And then after that, he went and signed with Philly and was a backup there. Obviously, we saw him win a Super Bowl, and then he basically earned a job in the NFL with a second chance, and now he's lost it, and he's only started 3 games with Jacksonville.
Yeah. Unless Minshew gets hurt or like completely chokes, do you see Foles starting again this year?
No. Like you said, unless Minshew chokes. But you could also... The big situation with Gardner Minshew, that was not a foreseen thing. Gardner Minshew was what, a 6th-round pick?
Yeah, nobody expected him.
No one expected him to play as well as he did this year. And so I think for them it was more or less, we can put Nick Foles on a short leash because we believe in Gardner Minshew. So it's unfortunate that Nick Foles completely blows. But
I should have saw that coming, though, of him being on the verge of getting benched and being like, even though he's got all this great matchup, I wouldn't want to risk the chance of him getting benched.
Yeah.
Which ended up happening.
It was like last year with Fitzpatrick and
right. It is kind of that. Yeah.
Either one's going to get 30 points, but start at your own risk.
Because, there's a chance he gets benched in the first quarter.
Right. Derrick Henry might finish as the number 5 RB in fantasy. I feel so emotionally destroyed by that.
He's just he's a
You know what's happening right now? I realize. So this year, I've talked about it before. This has been a down year for running backs in fantasy football.
It has, yeah.
Normal seasons. Christian McCaffrey is having a normal year. A normal, that would be a top 2 or 3 year in a normal running back year. Mm-hmm. This is a down year for running backs in fantasy football. Zeke has 177 fantasy points, and we have 4 games left.
Yeah.
Zeke had 230 fantasy points.
And he was like an RB, 5?
Yeah. But it's the same thing with everyone. Like Dalvin Cook, everyone is in that same boat. So, for Derrick Henry, I think he's just capitalizing on...
He is, but he has been good this year.
When I did research in the offseason, Devonta Freeman's RB1 seasons... in half PPR, he always scored 212 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Normally, in a normal running back fantasy season, that's 6 or 7.
If Henry was involved,
but in the seasons that he finished top 3, those were the years that happened to be bad years in fantasy. So I think it's the same thing with Derrick Henry.
No, it is. But if he was involved in the passing game more, he would be insane. Just his usage.
If is the big thing. It's not even if. It's never going to happen, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I mean, nobody thought it would be
Rick,
like that with Chris Carson.
The only reason why I don't like Derrick Henry is because he can't catch the ball. If he could catch the ball, I'd be all over him.
I know, but it hasn't even mattered this year.
Yeah. I think the other thing is
they just use him so much, which is kind of what when I flipped the switch on him right before the season started. It was just because I was looking at everything, reading everything, going
justifiably where he was going was not a bad place for him.
No,
I thought it was slightly early, but I mean it wasn't an awful place.
It's just he was the only back in that backfield, and unless he got hurt, which he didn't, they were gonna give him the ball on the ground 20+ times every game.
Right.
Which if he's decent, which he is, because he's just a tank, he's huge. Then he's going to put up fantasy numbers.
Right. Every time I switch to half PPR, the whole Fantasy Pros system blows. All right, so I'm
trying to look at the numbers.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the numbers. So for 2018, I did this last week, I think. The top 3 running backs in fantasy football had 275, Todd Gurley 1. Saquon Barkley 250 and Alvin Kamara 245. Christian McCaffrey had 230 and Melvin Gordon had 229. James Conner had 220. Kareem Hunt had 217. Zeke had 213, right?
Yeah.
You go to this year. McCaffrey has 302. Dalvin Cook has 233. Jones 197. Henry 192. Eckler 185. Nick Chubb 185. Leonard Fournette 170. It's literally a very down year for running backs. There's 2 guys, and that's it.
Yeah, it's Cook and McCaffrey.
And I think Zeke can and will get to that point where he's he is a top 3 back, but everyone else is just.
You think he catches Aaron Jones?
Yeah.
What is he at?
He's 177. Aaron Jones is 197.
Ooh, I don't know.
Aaron Jones has had 4 and 5 points the last 2 weeks.
I know, but he's due for a 40.
Yeah, that's true. The only reason why he's up there is because
it really is.
30
that's why I said games. I don't like Aaron Jones this year at all. He's been so... He's like the Tyreek Hill of last year.
Right.
where he would get like 35 and then 5.
Right.
But he's that for running backs. I mean, he's been great, but for people treating him as like the third running back in fantasy, he's just been so inconsistent.
Yeah. I just find it, so this is, like I said, this is one of those seasons. It's an off year. What did I say Derrick Henry had? This is through 12 weeks because my friggin' app is blowing it up right now.
I think it was.
How many points did he have this week?
23, I think.
23. So he's at the 200s, which at this point last year would have been 9 or 10.
22. He had 22 this week.
So this point last year, that would have been 9 or 10.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, which is what we thought at best he was.
If they used him the way that we thought we'd use, which they have.
What I see is next year running backs going back to normal and Derrick Henry being drafted in the first round.
So here's an argument
and then
to be made.
Busting because that.
Are running backs ever going to go back to normal? Ever?
It varies year to year.
Well, because
3 years ago, people were asking the same question, and we went back to, like, last year was a good year for fantasy running backs.
But I feel like more and more teams are using committees every year. And it started 2 years ago when Kamara and Ingram happened, and the Patriots were actually the first team that started it. And teams looked at those guys and saw how well they did using committee backfield.
We have to see it.
I think they're starting to. And you look at the teams that don't do that are the only guys left that are great. Like the Panthers.
I'm curious just to see. Maybe it's just a bad offensive year because I want to see what wide receivers we're doing over the course of this time. So right now we have Michael Thomas with 211, Godwin with 198, Evans with 179. Tyreek Hill this time last year had 217. We had Thielen with 210. Devontae Adams with 200, and then Michael Thomas had 195, and Brown had 198. So
it's a little worse than
last year. I really do feel like have you felt like this year has been just a worse offensive year besides?
Well, it has. I do agree with that. Overall in the landscape of the NFL, it has been a little bit worse. Yeah.
So anyway, Derrick Henry is the RB5. Like I said, do you not see this happening next year where everyone drafts? He's gonna get drafted as a top 7, top 8 running back, and then he's gonna end up being like 14 or 15, and everyone's gonna be like bust of the year, and it's gonna be like, well, we could have told you that.
Yeah, well,
He's good.
That might not happen if the Titans keep using him like this, and other teams don't.
If Tannehill continues to succeed, will they continue to use him?
I think that helps.
I really got to get over
my Derrick
Henry hate.
I think you do.
I need to move on. All right, let's move to a different topic. Devontae Parker, is he for real? 159, 2 touchdowns.
It took me like
people
6 weeks.
Have been waiting, and Rick, I'll tell you right now, people have been waiting for the breakout of Devontae Parker for years, not months, years.
He's been great this year.
He's been absolutely spectacular, and he's the wide receiver 20. Yeah. So. There's that. This is Devontae Parker breaking out, people. Over the last couple weeks, week 11, 12, and 13, he's had 17, 12, and then 31.
And in the last 4 weeks, he's gotten at least 10 targets.
Yep. So, does Ryan Fitzpatrick have something to do with that?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. So, in fact, every game that Ryan Fitzpatrick has started this year, Devontae Parker has got 10 or more targets.
I think this is what he can do with an average quarterback. I imagine if he had a good quarterback.
Maybe the Patriots should. I think he's a free agent this year.
Is he?
Should take a look.
I
can keep throwing crap at
Very
the wall
interesting.
And hope it sticks, though.
No, I think as long as Fitzpatrick is the starter rest of the season.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to ask?
I was going to ask, are you okay? We're week 14 of the playoffs, and you need, you don't have a flex.
Yep.
I told you before the show, I almost got Michael Thomas this week. Would have left my flex empty. Would Devontae Parker be an option for me in my flex if I had done that?
I think so. I was actually trying to trade for him as a wide receiver too. I was thinking about him over Christian Kirk.
And he's cheap.
Yeah.
If you could trade, our trade deadline went by. If you still
and a lot of teams would have done that. Kirk for Parker. Before this week.
I'm not sure if anybody can still trade, but
no, probably not. No, but like 2 weeks ago, would you have? If you had Christian Kirk, would you have taken? Or if you had Parker, would you have taken like someone like Christian Kirk, or like a low end like a wide receiver in like the mid-20s?
Yeah, probably.
I think most teams would have.
Yeah, because you're looking at it going, is he
it's a Miami
Is he
Dolphins.
going to have 17 points again? But Anybody who's getting 10 targets a game is
typically does well.
Yeah.
Unless their quarterback is like Nick Foles.
Yeah, it's true. So Devontae Parker, 159-2. I personally think he is on his way to. He's got the Jets in Week 14 and then the Giants in Week 15. Cincinnati's pass defense has been relatively decent this year, which is shocking. They have given up the 10th least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers. So it's been interesting for them, but that's going to be a tougher game for him. And then if you have Week 17 games, he doesn't have a good matchup against New England. So you're sitting here looking at those two matchups. I mean, I don't know what you can get from him rest of the season, but
I think he'll be solid the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks he'll be very good,
Like
but after that, he's probably worthless to most people.
For the championship.
And then I just wanted to point out one more thing before we move into our waiver wire additions, because that's what people come here for. Darius Geis.
Mm-hmm.
He ran 10 times for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's insane.
So this is it. This is me going back in the offseason in May when I'm done nothing to do, and I'm like, I wonder when Darius Geis. 10, 192 and 2. Fifth round pick maybe.
So it is. I didn't watch any of Panthers Redskins. Did you watch any of the game?
Yeah.
Okay, so was it like 2 big runs that got him all that? Or was it like...
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like...
I know he only had 10 carries because you can only do so much with 10. But was it like one play of the 10 and then the other?
He had I think it was 3 or 4 30-yard runs, I believe.
Okay, so it was...
Something like that, yeah.
Really good then.
Yeah, he was extremely efficient.
Why did he only get 10 carries?
Because they continued... This is like the infinite Frank Gore.
Oh, my gosh.
It's ridiculous. I wish I could see the snap-by-snap situations.
Use their talented running backs? Thank you.
It is ridiculous. It's so... Bill Belichick ruined the game of football. For
fantasy
the game of fantasy football. Because...
He's probably so happy about that, too.
I was talking to somebody today about it. They literally invented... They didn't invent it, but they made the RBBC popular.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
So ridiculous. I'm trying to pull up to see what
Peterson had.
No, I want to see what Geis did in this game.
For his runs.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of them, but there were 2. He had a 60-yard run, and then a couple of I think it was a couple of 30, 40-yard runs. But
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I put it backwards. It's 129 fantasy points, not 192.
Who had?
No, I didn't not fantasy points, yards. I said.
Gosh!
I said 192 yards. It is one.
That's what I was. I was in. 129. What the heck?
Yeah, that's like an average of 19.2 yards a game.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
129.
That's still
yards.
Great though.
That's still really good. So, is this a Darius Geis? Not rest of season. He's worthless rest of season. If you own him, and
next week against Green Bay,
if he gets 17 touches a game, he might actually be good. The problem that was the plan for him early in the season. Now it's later in the season. You got your rookie running back, and it's like, do I want to give him all that work?
Well, he's a second-year back now, about to be a third.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not rookie running back, but it's his first year playing, so whatever.
Yeah, he's only getting like even last week against. So since he's come back, touches wise,
right?
He had he had 8 touches in his first game, and then he had 11 touches last week, and then this week he had 12. So it is going up, but it's like you can't be the way he's playing. You have to give this guy like close to 20 touches.
We're gonna have to see this week because if they do give him more touches, it's gonna be this week. This is the time.
Would you consider starting him at your flex this week? If you
no.
Against Green Bay, 27th against running backs.
It's a risky play, very risky play.
What if you have like Adam Thielen, who's like your usual flex, and has been like.
I think Adam Thielen's most people's wide receiver twos.
He's some wide receiver ones.
Yeah, it's true.
For some teams.
I mean, for me, yeah.
I'm just using him as an example, but if you have
Geis in my flex, if you need somebody, is not a bad play. It's because he's facing.
It is very risky. Yeah.
Just like everyone's gonna be like, you told me to start Darius Geis. Why did you do that? And then he got 5 points.
He got 4 carries.
Yeah,
for 14 yards.
when playing fantasy football, it's all about what I like to call it calculated risks.
Yeah.
And this is a calculated risk. And if it doesn't pay off, it doesn't pay off. But you have to expect that. If you are the best team in the league and you have your flex who has a good matchup, who's a good flex, right? I have Julian Edelman at my flex, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if I had Darius Geis on my team and Julian Edelman on my team and Julian Edelman's playing a bad matchup, but Darius Geis has got that game against the Green Bay Packers, and you're like, ooh, that's a good matchup for Geis. Ooh, he just had 129 yards and 2 touchdowns, 26 fantasy points. Should I start him? No, you probably shouldn't. If Julian Edelman is your flex, you're probably one of the better teams in your fantasy league. But I think for me, if you're a very good team in your fantasy league, you shouldn't take risks like that. Start the guys who have guaranteed fantasy points. Don't take risks. If you are a team that's 6th place and you're playing the number 1 team in the league and you have to get a win,
and your usual flex is like James White,
right?
He gets like 10 points a week, or Kareem Hunt.
We're going to talk about James White tomorrow. But anyway, that's a good place to start Darius Geis.
Yeah. Although I think I would be kind of scared of Geis, even though it's a good matchup. I want to see him.
Doesn't get the work.
I want to see him do it again because I don't trust the Redskins. Yeah. And what do you think the chances are Green Bay gets up like 21-0 against the Redskins?
That's a very real possibility.
And if that happens, they're not going to give the ball to Geis.
No, they're not.
So,
that'll do it for our quick reactions portion of this episode. We are going to move into our waiver wire additions. This part of the show will probably go a little bit faster.
It's kind of dying each week, and now we're in the playoffs. So.
This is where you probably have some roster spots. We will preface this by saying this is the time. If you have a bye week in your league, this is the time to go out and get your streaming defenses for 15 and 16. To get your streaming kickers for 15 and 16.
Yeah.
To get your streaming quarterbacks for 15 and 16. And to pick up your handcuffs.
Yeah.
That's your playoff preparation. You spend all the week 14 doing that, and you're good to go. You have the advantage over 4 other teams in your league to prepare for a week that hasn't even happened yet because you have a bye week. So take this time to do that instead of saying, oh, I have a bye week and just not do anything this week.
Yeah.
Get your guys now and have a little foresight. Get your guys now and prepare for that week 15 and 16. So then when the other teams get there, they're like, oh, that guy I wanted and he got picked up this week. Ugh. That's what you want to do. So that's a preface for this.
I'm 100% agreeing with you on that. I think this is a big week.
Let's start with running backs. There's not a lot of them. Give us one that you're targeting on the waiver wire.
The guy on the top of the list, it's Benny Snell, and obviously if James Conner comes back, he's kind of useless. But the way Conner has been, it's not mysterious, but. Would you be shocked at all tomorrow the Steelers announce they're shutting him down, James Conner, for the year? Would you be shocked at all?
They won this week, right?
They did.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll shut him down.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, but I think they know they need talent to win in a playoff game. Mm-hmm. So that talent is going to be James Conner. You're not going to win playoff games with James Devlin and what the hell's the guy's name? Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
So
it's Devin Hodges now.
He's getting the same amount of work as Connor did when he was in there. 21 the first week, and then he had 16 rushes last week. A little less efficient, but he did have a rushing touchdown, which totaled 16, 17 fantasy points
for this week.
I mean, 12 to 13 fantasy points.
He had 13 points this week.
Yeah. So he doesn't get involved in the passing game.
He had one
like
catch.
James Conner. Like when James Conner doesn't run it a lot, like 14, 15 times, he usually gets 5, 6 targets. So he's not going to get the targets that you want. The workload is there. He's playing Arizona this week, which is a good matchup. Arizona, Buffalo, and New York, week 14, 15, and 16 are really easy matchups. If James Conner does get shut down, this is the guy you want.
Buffalo and New York are actually they're not easy. They're not hard, but they're not easy.
Buffalo just gives up a lot of fantasy points. To running backs.
Arizona is kind of an easy matchup. And I think there's a good chance Connor doesn't play this week. If you have James Conner on your roster, especially, and you're in the playoffs, I think, and you're really relying on him to come back this week, and it doesn't look like he's going to play this week, Benny Snell, I think, could be a great pickup because I think he's going to get another 13 to 15 against Arizona.
Yeah,
which could be a good flex option.
Right. I want to strike one guy off.
Okay.
There's going to be a group of people that are going to target Patrick Laird of the Miami Dolphins. You want to know what his totals were this week?
All right. What is it?
He scored a touchdown.
That's cool.
I think he had 4 or 5 catches.
That's awesome.
He ran it 10 times. 10 times on the ground.
That's a decent amount. That's like 14.
Yeah, he had 6 yards.
Oh. 6 total yards?
6 total yards.
Like catches and
what is that? That's 0.4?
How is that possible? Wait a minute.
How do you get 6 yards on 10 carries? That means you had to go backwards.
Does that include his receiving? Or is that rushing? 6 yards on 10 carries.
6 yards on 10 carries. That's just rushing.
That's still bad. That's still terrible.
He's a better pass catching back.
Okay.
But anyone who thinks that
Yeah,
at this point, this is what I'm waiting for. The Miami Dolphins just pony up and start Myles Gaskin. Because this is getting ridiculous. Your running backs suck, and I don't think anyone else.
There's a team that's going to draft a running back. We were talking about this.
Yeah, Miami. Totally forgot.
Yeah.
Miami. We'll probably do a whole show on that when the draft comes along. But yeah, so for me, not that Myles Gaskin is going to be good, but what do you got to lose? You can't run the football with anyone else.
What
did they have? 10 total rushing yards? It's like playing Madden and not giving it to your running back the entire
One more
game.
guy. Would you consider Raheem Mostert?
I don't mind Mostert, but Mostert's success was purely because Breda was out. And so the problem...
Did Coleman play?
Yes, I believe so.
And he was pushed aside.
No, he played. He just didn't get a red zone carry, I don't believe.
I could be
wrong
got
about that.
19 carries. So unless
Mother of God, Tevin Coleman didn't play.
Yeah. So unless
let me look.
Coleman did play and had 5 carries for 6 yards.
What the hell?
He took a back seat.
Interesting. To who?
Mostert.
Gross. Yeah, I would just stay away from the San Francisco 49ers.
I know. I would too. I said that before the year started and in the beginning of the season. And then I had a little stretch where I liked Coleman. Then I had a little stretch where I liked Breda.
So
it's like
if Breda, my problem is there's no predictability because next week it could be Coleman. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you can't start Mostert and be
they're gonna ride the hot hand
comfortable.
Probably.
Yeah, no, right. But you can't start Mostert and be comfortable with it. And I think especially if Breda comes back, you're gonna have the 3-headed monster again instead of the 2-headed monster. And it's throwing, it's like...
RBBC.
Yeah, an RBBC. It's like throwing darts at the wall, like I've always said, with the Rams wide receiver core and hoping one of them sticks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at this point, I would rather have a handcuff sitting on my bench than a guy by the name of Raheem Mostert. If he gets 19 carries the rest of the season, and I know that, then I'll pick him up. But other than that, I'm not really interested. Mm-hmm. Darwin Thompson, I did want to note, had a touchdown.
Did he?
That's why he's on this list.
Huh. You go, Darwin.
Yeah, and Darrell Williams is out.
Mm-hmm.
We have what's his face.
Shady.
Shady's an old man. Damian Williams. Holy crap! They have too many Williams, and I'm getting really confused.
They do.
I just called them Darian Williams, so I mixed Darrell Williams and Damian Williams together. Anyway, with Damian Williams being injury prone, Darrell Williams missing time most likely, and LaShawn McCoy being 120 years old. Darwin Thompson, he's not a good pickup. He's not a good pickup, no. But he might get more
like
work.
A 16-team league.
I'd love to say get ahead of it and pick up Darwin Thompson, but I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to jump on that board.
So I don't think there's any other running backs. Nope. Peyton Barber did have a good week this week. He's been slowly taking all the work again from
who would have saw that coming? Ronald Jones has been really good. I think we're going to start him. Next, 3 weeks, 6 carries for 8 yards this week, which isn't good, but 6 carries.
You know who did worse? Patrick Laird.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the wide receiver position. And I clicked on the wrong thing. I clicked on tight ends. They just want to skip over wide receivers. So the first one for me is James Washington. I think we talked about this last week. He's owned in a little bit more leagues. He had a really good week this week with Devlin Hodges. He is a guy that you could start in a good matchup in the playoffs and get a decent game. But he is also one of those, like we talked about with Darius guys. He's a big risk guy. He's a guy that if he catches a 60-yard touchdown pass, you're feeling like he did this week. I think it was like a 40-yard touchdown catch. You're feeling like, oh crap, I just saved my entire fantasy week with that one performance. But there is a very real possibility that he gets one catch for 8 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're just screwed. So start with caution if you do play him in any capacity in the playoffs, but only in good matchups. So listen to the show, and we'll tell you what to do with James Washington when the time comes.
Yeah.
But I think he's worth a pickup.
I don't disagree with that, especially if Juju is out for a significant period of time, which it looks like he will be.
I think they should just, the problem is, I'm like, at this point, we're asking the questions about shutting down Steelers, and right now, Mike Tomlin's like, we're fighting for the playoffs. I'm like,
they
dude,
are. If the season
you're going to get freaking destroyed
in the
first round.
I really hope the Steelers don't make the playoffs, and it's not. No offense to Steelers fans, I just don't want to see Devlin Hodges in a playoff game.
I know
I really don't.
They won't make it.
The season ended today. They're the 6th seed.
What are they? 6-5?
They're 7-5.
7-5.
Yeah. So the team.
I honestly think Buffalo can catch them. I mean,
Tennessee.
No, Tennessee has the lead in the division now. They beat Indiana.
Oh, so Houston. No, Houston leads the division. Tennessee right now is out of the playoffs. The season ended today, but they're 7-5.
Oh yeah. All right, I was gonna say the Brownies, but they're done.
No, oh gosh, yeah, the Browns are.
Yeah, Browns are over.
Done.
I was trying to convince myself
things would have been different, but
there was hope. Do you have another guy on the wide receiver?
No, I have to pull up those. It didn't look. It didn't. It really didn't look.
I didn't really. It's been vanilla. So
a lot of the names haven't changed from week to week, like AJ Brown, Cole Beasley.
Right.
One guy who's interesting, Anthony Miller.
Okay.
Of the Bears, the receiver. He has so many boom and bust weeks.
Right.
This week I want to pull up the numbers of what he got, but I know he got a touchdown at least.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta pull it up.
Catching the Beasles.
Okay. Yeah, Anthony Miller. So he didn't get a touchdown, but he had 13 targets.
The problem is
9 catches, 140 yards.
Taylor Gabriel might return this week.
Yeah, that's a problem, and the other problem is Mitch Trubisky blows chunks. It was a great matchup against Detroit. Next 3 weeks, he plays Dallas, Green Bay, Kansas City, all rank in the top 10 against wide receivers. So there goes my Anthony Miller take.
GG. Yeah.
Who on this list do you see that's appealing at all?
AJ Brown.
No, stop.
It's the same situation with James Washington, and Ryan Tannehill has been a better quarterback.
That is true.
Than Marcus Mariota. I like him only because you can get him. He's a guy that
He had 3 catches for 4 targets for 40 yards this week.
I know it's another gross play, but he has explosiveness that if you play him against a good matchup and he gets open and scores a touchdown, you have a really good week on your hands.
But he's gotten 20 plus twice out of 12 games this season.
I mean, I don't think he's a bad own. I'm surprised that he's not owned in more leagues after we push him so much. Cole Beasley is my other guy.
Yeah, he's been on my list every week.
Secretly been having a decent, okay season.
He's been having I've been saying it every week. He gets 10 points, and if he has a 1 or 2 more catches with a touchdown, he's gonna get a 20-point week, and that's what happened this week.
Yeah,
his revenge game against the Cowboys.
His schedule. You can't play him in week 16, unfortunately. No. But
honestly, I wouldn't even play him this week against Baltimore
or against Pittsburgh.
So,
I mean, pick him up at your own risk. The big thing is that the Buffalo Bills offense is all over the road. So it's you're hoping that this guy gets 10 targets a game, 10 targets, but he just isn't consistently targeted like that. You could have a 9-point week. I mean, a 9-target week, or you could have one of those 3-target weeks. Just it varies. So I don't know what you can expect from him. The only other guy is somebody that ascended into wide receiver 2 over in Green Bay. Allen Lazard. Why am I talking about Allen Lazard right now?
You shouldn't.
He is now the wide receiver 2 in
Yippee-ki-yay.
in Green Bay. We've been trying to figure out, hey, what guy's going to be out there for everyone. We've been trying to figure out for
Green Bay's receiving
the
quarterback
better half
Adams
the better half of a year. Who the hell the second wide receiver is for the Green Bay Packers?
Honestly, I've been trying to figure that out for like 5 years.
Allen Lazard had 17 fantasy points this week.
He
3
did.
targets, 103 yards, and a
3
touchdown.
targets.
That's
all
so
I have to say.
scary. It's so scary.
I'm probably not picking up.
Yeah,
Lazard.
I'm probably not either.
Deep leagues, though, I think you can consider it.
Another guy I've been talking about for a couple weeks now. Don't know how much he's owned in leagues, but it's probably going to go backwards now that the quarterback change has happened. But since the switch to Nick Foles, we've had 8 and 9 targets for D.D. Westbrook.
Oh, look at that.
But now that we're switching back, he probably won't. He had 18 fantasy points this week. So, to me, there's no one else really that I would really jump on. If Julio Jones does miss time, Russell Gage is a guy that you might want to go after.
Yeah, that is true. If Julio.
But outside of that, it's not. There's no one else really that I'm looking at for wide receivers.
Yeah.
Randall Cobb maybe, but I don't even know if I want that.
Probably not.
Let's move into our tight ends and discuss some tight ends as we move to conclude the show. The number one guy for me is who's Arizona playing this week?
Who's Arizona playing?
Yeah, dude. Cardinals. Hold on. I'm looking it up.
I have no idea. I think it's... Oh, no. It's... Cardinals play the Steelers this week.
Okay, so go out and pick up Vance McDonald and start him.
Well, there you go. Are you sure about that? Because I did that 2 weeks ago and he got me 0 points.
Yeah, he's playing. So everyone was like, our good friend, who is the starting tight end for the freaking Los Angeles Rams? Gerald Everett. Everyone was like, I'll go out. Gerald Everett against Arizona. It's going to be a great week. Gerald Everett out. Oh, no, we can't start anyone. No tight ends. Freaking Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee had 20 fantasy. But Tyler Higbee can get 20
I should have said
points.
this, but we didn't know he was out at the time.
Yeah.
I would have been all over Tyler Higbee last week.
Yep. I'm going to say right now, run to your waiver wire and do the gross thing and pick up Vance McDonald.
I can't be on.
It is literally becoming something that you feature in your offense when you play Arizona.
I just can't. I can't do it. I cannot.
You honestly might be able to get away with streaming tight ends against Arizona rest of the season.
Dude, you
have Vance McDonald this week. You have David Njoku next week, probably on your waiver wire.
Dude,
and then the following week after that,
Vance
you have
McDonald
Jacob Hollister.
has played in every game since week 3. Okay.
He hasn't played Arizona, has he?
He's played in every game since week 3. 1, 4, 1 bye week. 3, 11, 2, 4, 0.5, 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you can start Vance McDonald.
Oh, dude, I can't do it.
Don't do it over like Darren Waller or Zach Ertz or they're like 5 tight ends. But if you're down in the dumps and you don't have a tight end, you can just start Vance McDonald. Do it. Take a shot in the dark. So I'm trying to find out how many points per game are given up to the tight end position by this freaking football team, and I can't find it. So frick me.
It's a lot, though.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's probably around the 15 to 16 range. But anyway, Hollister's probably the number one guy that I would go out and pick up.
My number one guy.
Seattle's tight end.
Okay.
They've been targeting the tight end position significantly.
Yeah, Hollister's been a beast. But my number... Actually, you know who is my actual number one guy? No, it's not
O.J.
Hollister.
Howard.
I'd rather jump off a bridge.
You have some vendettas against
I do.
these tight ends.
It's Njoku.
You got burned by Vance McDonald 3 weeks ago, and you're like, dude, he blows. You're like carrying the flag.
I love David Njoku. Main reason is his playoff matchups too. First of all, he's played one game this year.
Yeah.
He had 11 points. He had hype going into the season as a top 10 fantasy tight end.
He didn't play this week, right?
He did not play this week. He's gonna play. He's expected to play this upcoming week against Cincinnati at home. Should be a good matchup. Next week he plays Arizona, who ranked dead last against tight ends. So, and then week 16, don't start him. He's playing Baltimore. But for the next 2 weeks, I'm thinking Njoku is actually going to be a good start.
Oh, shoot. Drop my pencil.
And he's only owned in 17% of leagues on NFL.com. I don't know what it is for every other league. You can pull that up. But
yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I actually do like David Njoku. My thing is and I wish I had actually talked about this I was really nervous about Browns players, and I think I did talk about the amount that they were going to throw the football and the amount that they were going to get their offensive really involved. And so it was just kind of difficult for me to put the puzzle pieces together for them, how many targets guys were going to get. Seeing their offense now in full, I don't see the target share for David Njoku being that large. It might be 4 to 5 times a game. They do have easy matchups, so I think he is a great add if you need a tight end late in the season.
I don't know how much it's going to be either, but I think he's going to be their number one red zone guy.
Probably. He's going to steal all his targets away from Jarvis Landry and go from there.
What did Landry get this week? 10?
Yes.
Landry's been better than Odell all season.
Yep, that's true. Another guy that I think you should target at the tight end position in an offense that has been slightly improving, or passing offense, I should say. Rushing offense has been not there. Patrick Laird.
I know who you're talking about.
The Miami Dolphins and Mike Gesicki. So I talked about Mike Gesicki in the offseason, and he obviously didn't do what you wanted him to.
Right.
But he had 6 targets, 2 targets, 3 targets, 0 targets, 7 targets, 4 targets, 3 targets from weeks 1 through 8. Since then, weeks 9 to 13, he has 6 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets, and he's seen a slow increase, and he has 2 touchdown catches in the last 2 games. This week he had 5 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown. So this is a guy that you could pick up late in the season. We've talked about Fitzpatrick loving the tight end position more than his own children. He loves to throw it to tight ends. Don't know what it is, but he's starting to target since they put Fitzpatrick in the game and gave him starts. Mm-hmm. He has been targeting Mike Gesicki a lot.
Yeah, no, he has.
The only problem is efficiency. I mean, you're gonna have,
which is gonna happen. He's on the Dolphins.
He's on the Dolphins. This is like one of the only, him and Devontae Parker are the only 2 guys that I really want to go after. But
which is a huge improvement from what they were like 4 weeks ago.
I know. But so Mike Gesicki is a guy that I would definitely add. I want to see one more week if you can.
Yeah.
But the end of season schedule, the Jets, Giants, and Cincinnati is not bad, I should say. Is there anyone else at the tight end position before we talk about in the show with our QB streamers?
I think that's it.
So somebody that we haven't talked a lot about in recent weeks and kind of fell off a little bit is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
If he's not owned in your league, pick him up against the Detroit Lions. He's my QB streamer of the week. Detroit gives up a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks. He's almost guaranteed to have a good week. So pick him up, start him, and hold your breath.
I agree with that one. He was my guy, but you stole him from me.
Snacks.
And since you're the one that gets all the picks here, I have to change my pick again.
All the time. You just get the sheet faster.
Which is okay, because I have multiple guys. My QB streamer of the week is Sam Darnold. I know he had a terrible week, and everybody's going to flip out against Cincinnati.
Yep.
But it was at Cincinnati, which he's been much better at home this year than he's been on the road, other than the one game against New England where he had minus 6 points.
Oh, Lord.
But he was seeing ghosts. He's no longer seeing ghosts. Miami ranks 30th against quarterbacks. It's at home. I understand you're scared, but the previous 3 weeks, he had 30, 29, 22.
The home part is really important for him.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get 20-plus this week.
Yeah.
It's too good of a matchup for you not to start.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
If you're streaming quarterbacks. Darnold's a good matchup. And he's at home. I think that's the biggest thing. At home, quarterbacks. I told you the equation. Don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but I told you the equation. There's 3 things you need to check off for streaming quarterbacks before you can throw a guy in a game and hope that they have a good game. This is why I didn't like. I wasn't a huge. I loved Darnold this week, but I wasn't a huge fan of him coming into this week because he was on the road. Yeah.
So Sam Darnold at home against Miami is a great play. The first box I check is does the quarterback have a good matchup? The second box I check, is he at home? The third box I check, is he playing on Thursday Night Football, which is probably the most important one. And you just go with all 3. If you check all boxes and you say no to Thursday Night Football, boom, that's your guy.
He's a streamable option.
Yep, streamable option. So that's kind of the equation that I use.
He also I would add one more thing. He just can't absolutely blow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If the quarterback sucks, you're talking about Ryan Finley.
Yeah.
He's at home against a good matchup. Don't play him. He has to have proved one. Yeah, Dwayne Haskins. He has to what I like to look at is, has this guy scored 30 points in a game?
Or would you say
in his career? I did it with Baker, but I look at previous years too.
Okay, but Darnold I don't think ever did before. Oh no, he did last year. Remember the Week 16 against the Packers where Rodgers had 50 points?
Right.
Darnold, I think, also had 35. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess he checks that box too.
All right, that'll do it for our QB streamers. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. We're going to conclude the show. Be sure to listen tomorrow as we discuss booms and busts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter at TheFFChamps.